So welcome to SQL Bits. Hopefully you're having a good time learning a few things. We're here to talk about blogging today. I assume you are all interested in blogging in some way, which is good. I was wondering how many people would come. My information is there, and this is about kind of building a little bit more of your brand. So rough agenda here. Because it's only 20 minutes, we won't be in depth on some of these things, but there's a little more in the deck than I will spend time on. So once you get the deck, please feel free to go through it, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to take any questions right now while we're here, but if you have questions, I'll be around for another hour or so today before I leave. So that's who I am. We won't waste time there. Why bother blogging? I assume all of you are busy. You have no shortage of time in your lives. So like me, I find time very precious. So why would I blog? Why would I do this thing? And I've been doing it for 22, 3, 4, 5 years. So the biggest thing is right here, that it helps me grow. And a lot of the people I know that do what I do in their speaking, or they write articles, they write books or publish something else, we find that when I have to explain something to myself or to another person, it helps me learn it better because I have to be able to clearly and concisely communicate this concept. Whether I'm teaching a colleague how to do something or I'm trying to work with a customer, I want to have good communication skills and I want to express what I mean or express what I'm trying to show them. And blogging forces me to do that. Throughout history, we've found that writing makes you a better communicator. And writing is a skill. You can learn to be better. Like you may not be, Shakespeare or James Joyce, but you can certainly learn to be better. And I would say across 20 years, the feedback that I've gotten from others says that I've gotten to be a better writer in that time. This also helps me to change my knowledge. So over here on the right-hand side, we have this T-shaped knowledge image, which I think some of you may have seen in the past, which really says that we all know different things. So some of us know how to cook. We know how to make pizza, or at least ramen or something, right? Some of us know how to take pictures. Some of us play musical instruments. We have a gentleman here that's in a band. We have this broad array of knowledge that we deal with on a regular basis. But then in some things, we're an expert. You an expert musician? Yeah, he's pretty good. And so over here, let's go back. Where's my little pen? When we look at this and we say we have knowledge, for a lot of us in the data platform, we might say we have some deep knowledge. Now maybe we're not complete experts, but maybe there's a piece of this we're very good at. Maybe we're good at tuning queries. Maybe we're good at writing T-SQL. Maybe we're really good at running backups, or we're running HA or something else. But there's this whole other level of knowledge that we have that might be something else. So maybe you can write an SSIS package or Azure Data Factory. Maybe you can work with Synapse a little bit. And the goal sometimes for me is that I want to make this wider over time. As I search for things, as I learn things, I try to grow my knowledge in different areas so that I'm not just a SQL Server DBA or a T-SQL developer. I also know a little bit about Azure. I know a little bit about AWS. I know a little bit about a variety of other topics. And for some of those other topics, I may increase my depth as well. Or in the core skills, I may get very, very deep in some of those areas. And that's the goal here, is that I want to change my knowledge. Now, you do have to get feedback or take feedback from others. Please learn how to use good grammar and write. My kids make me slightly crazy because they don't use periods in many things. But it is a way for you to grow and become better at your job over time. It's also a way to document your career. So this is my tag cloud for my blog. This blog has been up maybe 15, 18 years. And so you can see that with this cloud of things that I've worked on, I've written, I've learned what I'm interested in. So some of the things are things that I want to learn, but some of the things accidentally I spend time on and I write. So obviously I work for Redgate, right? The Redgate one is pretty big. Pass is there because I complain about Pass a lot. I used to. But other things, in the last year, the coping tips in life, or the last 3 years, I've spent time trying to help others cope with this crazy world that we live through. But it's also helped me grow and change. And I found over time that things like reporting services disappear off here because while I thought it was interesting, a good career move, I realized I don't like working in reporting services, so I just don't write about it. I do a lot of T-SQL, I do a lot of other things in there. So it's an interesting method for me to learn about what I want to do with my career. And for me, I've tried to actively manage my career. Meaning I don't just apply for jobs and take the first one I get, which is what a lot of people do. We kind of stumble passively through our careers. We don't actively say, I want this job. I would rather do this. And so this is one of those ways that helps me decide what I want to do to actively manage my career. What things do I want to work on? Who do I want to work for? Where do I want to live? All of those things. Now, I used to do this survey when I would do this talk in a longer format. Who actually writes, has a blog, and who reads them. What I typically find is something in this range where very few of you, plus or minus 10%, have blogs. Some of you that have blogs rarely write or write very sporadically, people I know in the room. But most of you read blogs, you learn from them. It has become a way to learn apart from taking a class, reading a book, reading documentation, which we still have to do. But it is a way that a lot of us learn about new features, functions, how to become better at our jobs. The big thing for me in terms of branding a career is that when you are one of that 10% as opposed to that 90%, you stand out. You look different than everybody else. And by the way, when you apply for jobs, when you send your CV in, you're usually not the only person applying for that job. There are lots of others. And as much as we support each other, we are friends, we also are in competition with each other when we are looking for a job, a raise, avoiding a layoff, getting a promotion, getting on the project we want, or the topic that is important to us. A lot of interviews, a lot of HR people, a lot of hiring managers, a lot of peers will perform some due diligence on you when they get the chance. And it's not that, if they don't find anything, it matters, but when they do find something, it helps them determine if you are a good fit. And if you're blogging about or putting things out there that are important to you, that you're good at, or that you want to do, then it helps you to find the job that works well for you. I'm sure some of you have had a job that you regretted, or you didn't think fit you very well. And that's going to happen, right? We know interviewing and choosing people or choosing employers is not a perfect science. But we want to make things better for us. We want to find the jobs that we want. The other thing for me is the second one, that when I put things on my blog, and this has happened to me when I've gone on interviews, they ask me about the things they've seen. So often in an interview, the first 5 or 10 posts, they're going to ask me a question about that area. So I'm controlling what they're going to ask me. I'm already prepared because I know what's going to happen there. And over time, this does prove you have some knowledge and skill. For years, I answered questions on forums like not Stack Overflow, but that type of thing. And I've had people come to me and say, we would love to hire you because we know how you think. We know how you communicate and solve problems with other people. It's a good way to showcase who you are. But I have a different reason for blogging. So the last 3 years have been absolutely insane, right? The world turned upside down. We don't know what work looks like. I'm sure some of you are fully remote. Some of you have to go back to an office, and you may or may not like that. Some of you are probably like Redgate, where we're kind of in the middle trying to figure out what we do. I have all these links I've collected over the last few years, but the number one reason for blogging, any guesses? You got 10 seconds. Any guesses? Remember what you learned? Yourself? Personal brand? Choice. Okay? Because when I blog, when I create interest and opportunity for myself, when I figure out what I like to do and what I'm good at, I get to choose where I work, who I work for, what I want to do. The best example of this that I've seen, I'm a great example, but my buddy Brent Ozar, some of you may have heard of Brent. So Brent built a blog. Right? He was a consultant, built a blog though, turned that blog into a training business. That training business was very successful. Some of you may have taken his classes. And during the pandemic, he went and lived in Iceland for nearly a year and ran his training business from there. Just personal choice, wanted to go live in Iceland for a year, which is crazy because he doesn't like cold weather so much, but in any case. He also bought this Jaguar, this 2013 Jaguar. Actually, he bought 2 Jaguars. One of those is for sale, by the way, so if you want to buy it, I have no idea what it costs, but contact Brent and say, I want to buy your car. That was his choice, and it really came about from him blogging, from him growing his career, learning to speak, promoting himself, building a brand. Now, I'm not saying you can do what Brent did. You could, right? But you could have a better position that makes more money or is a better situation for you. Some of you want more compensation. For me, I want more time, whatever's important to you. All right, so how do I set up a blog? I don't want to belabor this. There's lots of places. There's lots of things. WordPress is fantastic that I do. If you have questions, please ask, but it's really not hard. I trust all of you could do that. And then what do you write about? So I've been writing blogs and editorials now for 20 21 years, I think, and I used to worry I would run out of things to say. I have not yet. And honestly, as I talk to people and spend a few minutes with you, I can help you do this. Because what I'm trying to do is get you to blog about things that you do, things that you learn, things that you solve. You close a ticket, you ask a question and get an answer. Somebody asks you a question and you help them. Those are all good things to blog about, to share your knowledge and information. And what I do typically is I take a lot of notes when things happen throughout my day, whether that's at work, whether that's with customers and clients when I'm out visiting. It could be here. Like I've taken notes this week from conversations I've had with some of you that help me to think about different things. And then what I do is I kind of sketch this out. So with that, let me show you, well, I've got a few minutes, what I really do here. So I use Open Live Writer. It's free from Microsoft. They open source this thing. It's not amazing. It's really a horrible WPF application, but it works really good in terms of it lets me blog things. So I set this up. Let me put my title up here. If you know me, you know I hate my phone ringing. Like I'm one of those people, I do not like voice calls, and I hate my phone ringing. Most of my career, things I do is to make sure my phone doesn't ring. Okay? But one of the most popular questions, or at least the most common questions on SQL Server Central has been, what do I do with the full transaction log? So I can put up a title. If somebody called me, I could do this. And then I sketch something out. So this is literally what I would do. We'll put this up here. Is I would just kind of note what happened in my day, right? So hopefully none of my colleagues are calling me, Max, that say what to do here. But if they do, right, somebody said they have full transaction log. And this has actually happened to me. Not lately, but it has. And so what would I do? How do I handle this? Well, I would work with them and solve the problem. But often I would then go through and say, there's this list of things that I would do, and this is kind of a summary, and I would make these my headings. So I would, figure out what the problem is, figure out what to do about it. Optionally, I may say, how do I prevent this thing? And then I always summarize. Like that's a good thing for me because it helps me as a writer go, did I explain this thing that I put in the summary? And really what it is this thing at the top should be very close to what this thing is at the bottom. Now, this isn't often enough because I'm busy and I'll forget stuff. So I would do things like this. Let's put this up here. I would make notes like this where I'd say, apologize for the spelling, but it's going quickly when I set this up. Here's what happened. Somebody called me, there's an error. I would probably put a screenshot in here or a snippet from the error log, right? Cut and paste that thing out there. What would I do? Well, I would check the disk. Are we really out of space? Is the file large? The normal things we would do as somebody managing the system. I might try to update something in the transaction log. Possibly I would do something like this, where I would say, update x set y equals y, where 1 set id equals 1. Right, like if I could do something like that, and if that runs, the transaction log's not full, right? It might be close, but it's not full. But if it's full, that won't run. It'll say we can't log this, right? We're read-only mode, yada, yada, yada. And I could format and do whatever. And this is something you could write in a couple of minutes. I could probably write it now, but I struggle to type and think sometimes. Hence why I did this. And then maybe I would say, here's some notes, right? This is what I did. Look for disk space, right? For me, I always have placeholders on all my disks. Like I have like 10 gig of placeholder here, so if I do something incredibly stupid, I delete 10 gig of file and I can still work. I might clear the log, truncate it, run it back up, shrink the file. Whatever I did, I would just make this many notes that would say, here's what I just did to solve this problem. I might optionally do something here, or I would just summarize. Actually, we'll summarize right quickly. Said, I helped a friend clear the log. We did X. This was amazing, right? Like, whatever thing, right? And this is enough notes that I can do in a couple of minutes between other tasks that I have to do for my job that I'm doing. And then I can save this. And then later, when I have time, and when I'm looking for something to write about, I can write about it. And you can see, in terms of mine, I've got all these drafts that just actually live in a OneDrive folder for me, but they're just different things that I think about, and I just put them. Some of them I turn into blogs, and they get published. Some of them I don't, like, apologies, ladies, the WIT luncheon, I completely forgot. I did something and just completely forgot. But these things live there. And the other thing that I've done is here's my blog. I've got all these things. I've done the SQL New Blogger hashtag, where Ed Leighton Dick started this, trying to get people to blog. So I would encourage all of you, if you want to, please use this hashtag in different places. Apparently my fingers did not work here. Let's go there. Here's a blog I wrote recently, right? Adding a computer column. I had a customer actually say, how do we do this thing? And so I was going through this, and I couldn't remember exactly what to do, so I looked it up in books online. This is the post, right? So this here, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, 2 pieces of code, and a link, really. And that's all it is. But that's a perfect thing that if you work as a SQL developer, you could put this out there, and somebody might ask you about an interview, or they might care about this problem. As a matter of fact, if you don't know how to do this, it's a fantastic way to help handle some deployment problems where I want to approach zero downtime and I'm trying to deal with renames or splits or something. This works fantastic for that. And then for all my posts at the bottom, I put in something like, this is how long it just took me to do, and I try to encourage you to write. That's pretty simple. I think all of you could probably do something like that. Where's my thing? All right, so writing skills. There are a lot of prominent people out there in the computer science world, developers, admins, things like that, that would say you'd be much better off pursuing a degree in English than computer science. You're smart people. I can teach you the computer science. I can teach you algorithms and code and syntax, but communication is really hard. And those of you that have received emails or sat in a meeting or watched somebody ask a question, no offense, sometimes it happens here. You ask me a question, and I'm like, could you summarize that, get to the point, what you want to ask? Communication is a tough skill. The way we write a blog, tell me what you're going to tell me what you told me. That's how we write essays in high school and middle school, right, in that 16 to 18-year range. This is how you communicate to people. Now, 5 paragraphs is what schools do. Maybe it's longer, shorter, maybe it's 8 paragraphs, maybe there's code, but I'm trying to aim in this area that I want to explain a concept. I want to set you up, tell you what to do, and then summarize that at the end. I try to keep these short. So in that example I had where I had the preventing, I would probably make that a separate blog where I'd say, here's how you prevent a full transaction log, right? Here's how you find it. Here's how you prevent it. Here's what you should set up to prevent it, or to just run your system in general. Those are the things I would do. And I try to break things up, and then I link things together as much as possible. Because again, if the hiring manager looks at this and he starts clicking on stuff, I want him to go where I want him to go, where I've already set it up. Please learn how to write. It is a skill. Your boss, your coworkers, your mom will appreciate it. Right? Everybody cares about this stuff. You don't have to be technical. I can take a partner or a friend that knows nothing about databases, and they can say, I explained something logically. Matter of fact, I used to manage Oracle DBAs. I know some Oracle, but I don't know a lot of Oracle. But I can push them to say, explain to me what you're going to do and why. And if they make sense, I can say yes. And if it doesn't make sense, I can push them to better explain why. I don't have to know Oracle. I don't have to be the expert in the room. I need to make sure they communicate well. That's what we're trying to do. Simple things here. I won't belabor these. More in here. Please don't plagiarize stuff. I don't know if you're lazy. I don't know if you're dishonest. I don't know if you're stupid. I don't know what it is, but there's nothing good that comes from plagiarizing information. And then you want to promote your brand. We're techies. We know that people that want to hire us will be online looking at things. There's many ways to do this. The biggest thing I try to tell people is you're not writing news, okay? I don't care if you learn how to back up a transaction log today, last month, or in 3 months from now. If I'm going to hire you, I care that you know how to do it. So what I normally say is just schedule things out. Like when I came over here, I left a note that says I'm traveling, et cetera. I try to keep to a schedule of some sort. I think I used to blog every day. I can't do that. Like I blog 3 times a week or 2 times a week, and I pick a schedule that works for me. What I normally tell people is that what you should do is find a time to write, Sunday morning before church, or just get coffee, or, Tuesday night, or whatever works in your life. Spend 10 or 15 minutes. Write 10 posts. When you have 10, schedule them. Okay? However long it takes you to write 10 posts will help you determine what pace you can do this at. Because this has to fit in the rest of your life. You have family, friends, faith, hobbies, work, other stuff. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do in my life. Okay? Plenty of places just promote this and put it out there. You'd be surprised sometimes a random person sees something you did or that you promoted, and then they call you for a job. Can't tell you how many speakers and friends that has happened to before. So the big thing I want you to get out here is that blogging can help you. It can help you build a career that you want, right? Not just a better career, but the career that's suited to you, that is important to you. And it helps you learn a little bit more about who you are. And then along the way, hopefully you will become better writers, and maybe some of you want to write an article for me sometime at SQL Server Central. So that's it. We could have 30 seconds. Is there any question? One question? Yes, sir.
So with the rise of things like ChatGPT and they sort of sucking up all these blogs into feeding models for AI, and your material turning into automatically generated code, do you do anything on your blog to kind of make sure, you mentioned about plagiarism, to make sure that your code gets credit?
So do I do anything to worry about people copying my blog or something? I do not. I do not worry about it. I think maybe you worry about it or not, but I'm putting information out there for free, and so I really don't care. Your mileage may vary. You may do something different. It's up to you. There are people that will do things to prevent copy-paste or that kind of stuff, but I don't care. Like, really, I care that somebody can read my blog, know it's from me, and then they call me for a job. Like, if that helps you, fantastic, right? If they see it on your blog and my blog and they get mad, I know who's going to win that argument, so I'm not worried. All right, that's it, 20 minutes. If you got questions, come find me. Otherwise, thank you very much. Have a great week. See you.